All right, is everyone be able to see that my screen there? You able to see it, Nody?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so we'll go ahead and get started. Thanks for everyone for jumping on tonight. We hope you and your family are staying safe during this crazy spring and summer. So we just like to introduce ourselves tonight and let you know what Mesa is all about. I think most of the families on here, I think, are 2024s, 2025s, and 2030s. There may be some other age groups on here, but I think that's the bulk of who's on here. All right, so we'll just start out here with who we are. So these are the three of us that started Mesa back in the day. So I'm Travis Loving. I think I know many of you already. I grew up in Maryland. I grew up in Crofton. I went to Arundel High School. I graduated there in 1991. And then I went on and played lacrosse at Army. So I'm a trader in this town for sure. My dad's career Navy, so you don't have to tell me anything about that. For the last 18 years or so, I've been up in Philadelphia. I taught math at the Haverford School up there and coached lacrosse up there. So now I'm back in Maryland where I grew up, happy to be home. And I'm currently coaching at Severna Park. This would have been my second year if we had a spring season. So Mark, who's also a co-founder of Mesa, he grew up in Philadelphia. For you guys that are familiar with that area, he went to Ridley High School, and then he played at Gettysburg. And then once he graduated Gettysburg, he coached in college for a while. He coached at Lynchburg. He coached at F&M, and then he came to Haverford right about the same time that I started. So he coached the offense at Haverford, and I did the defense. And then John Nostrand, he's an upstate New York guy from Baldwinsville. He played ball at Washington College. He played indoor for a while. He played for the Baltimore Thunder back in the day, and then he played for the Philadelphia Wings. He coached the U19 team back in 2008. He was at Haverford for 26 years. He was the athletic director there. And I think many of you probably heard he's currently.
I can't see if anyone else is on. I don't know what's going on.
Just mute this person. But so we were all together at Haverford just out of coincidence. We were all there together and we coached there together for 17 years. I taught there. I taught math there. Mark taught fifth grade gym. As I said, Nody was the athletic director there. And it was just like a really awesome part of our lives that we were able to coach at Haverford together for that many years. And so we started Mesa back in 2007 up in Philadelphia. And obviously us three were business partners, all right? But more importantly than that, we're pretty much best friends and would trust each other with pretty much anything. All right, so I'm going to hand it over right now to John. All right, and he'll just introduce Mesa's philosophy.
I was on mute. Sorry about that. Thanks for joining us tonight. We're excited about a partnership with the Green Hornets. And I just want to tell you a little bit about Mesa and what our philosophy, will be in conjunction to what the Green Hornets folks have already done. We've had great conversation. I'm not sure if there's coaches on here tonight, but with the 2030 coaches, 24s and the 25s, those that could join us. So we've learned a lot from them. And to begin with, I guess I would say Mesa is just coming in to hopefully add some club professionalism and some value, just from ratcheting things up a little bit. But the Green Hornets is a phenomenal organization, and we didn't really plan on doing anything or expanding. But with Trav being in Annapolis, it makes great sense, and he loves it there. So it's not like we are setting up shop and shipping this thing out to other people. Travel kind of run the show down there. So it's I think very beneficial for us, and we probably wouldn't do it otherwise. And he, again, as I said, is Annapolis centric and knows the area, coaches at Severna Park. So that's fun and exciting. But anyway, the skills and development of the boys is the most important thing. So again, that's our focus. We always want to win and be competitive and do everything we can to be a very competitive club. But the basis of that would be teaching the boys positional fundamentals, skills development, stick work, and teaching them how to play the game, as opposed to teaching them plays to help them win games. We want to develop their love of the game, just through teaching it the right way, and we love doing that, and we've had a pretty good success the little short period of time we've had with the 4 teams that we're working with down there. So that's been a lot of fun. Again, with Trav being involved in Annapolis and me moving to Baltimore, we feel like we're connected well enough now to staff the growth of Mesa, because I think that's the most important thing, are the folks that the coaches and mentors that we put in front of the boys. And obviously from talking to the dads, there's a lot of passion with the Green Hornets, a lot of passion for lacrosse. So again, we're not trying to reinvent the wheel. We're just trying to build on the enthusiasm and the expertise that's already been provided. So we look forward to that. All of our practices, all of our coaches will have a practice plan. Everything will be scripted out. So I guess maybe the difference, or what could be some of the difference, is it's going to be up tempo, intense, but fun. So it'll be ratcheted up a little bit. So some of the boys, it will take them a while, especially depending on their age, like to get used to kind of when they get to practice, just strapping it on and being ready to have some fun, but work hard. And Trav will talk about the fee structure, but this club is built on a philosophy that, if you're a part of the club, everyone's going to play as equally as we can. There's sometimes that things happen in a game, penalties and odd stuff like that. But if you're a member of a team, we value that, and we want kids to play. In the last 4 or 5 minutes of a game, if we're trying to win the game, and does the bench kind of get shortened? It can, and certainly as the boys get older, that becomes easier, more apparent. But again, our whole philosophy is to develop the boys, get them comfortable, and get them ready to compete and play. So Trav, I don't know. There you go.
All right, thanks, Nitty. All right, so I'm just going to kind of discuss the curriculum that we offer. All right. So in the fall, you have about that many practices, all right, and they will always take place on Sundays. All right. Mesa is all about kids playing other sports. We highly encourage that. All right, so we try to do everything on Sundays. Again, we know there'll be some conflicts with football, at the younger age group and stuff, but that's why everything's on Sundays. All right, and then each team will play in 2 tournaments that usually fall towards the end of October / the beginning of November. Usually the high school tournaments are all in November. But that's the general curriculum, regardless of your age. All right, so then in the winter, right, this is not set in stone because it varies per age group, and I think Philadelphia is different from Maryland. But it's going to be some type of hybrid like this. All right, so we do 4 to 5 skill sessions. Okay, and what I mean by those are like trying to improve each player's individual skills and lacrosse IQ. All right, so you're not doing clearing, You're not doing riding. You're not doing 6-on-6. All right. It's more numbers type of situations, stick work type of stuff. All right. Just trying to improve each player individually. All right. And when we break that up, we have field players. They go to their own sessions. All right. And goalies go to a separate session where it's only goalies, and we're just focusing on the technique of that position. All right. And again, depending on the age group, okay, we might offer maybe like 3 or 4 box practice sessions, where they're learning how to throw down, pick down, and interchange and all that, and maybe a particular team may play in a league, or another team, you might just play in a box tournament or something like that. All right. And then in the spring, okay, so we'll go like 2 times per week. All right. These will be on the weeknights. All right. And then, each team's going to play in that HOCO spring league, which is in, those 2 months. Okay. All right. So for the 24s that are on here, all right, this does not apply to you. All right. Because they're in high school, and, they're already over scheduled with their high school team. So Mesa does not do anything in the spring for the high school teams. All right, and then in the summer, which is like the guts of our program, okay, we'll offer like that many practices for the younger teams. All right, so again, the 24s, the high school kids, okay, they'll have less practices in the summer, right? Because depending on what high school you go to, okay, you might go to, Smyrna Park or whatever, might go to a tournament as a team. Okay. And then there's individual showcases when you get to high school. All right. So the high school kids are already crazy busy in the summer. All right. So they'll practice less. Okay. But the high school kids and every other team except for the 30s, you'll have 3 tournaments in, those 2 months. Right. So the 30s, just because of their age, okay, we think it's appropriate that they just play in 2 tournaments in the summer, okay, as opposed to 3. All right, so I'll just hand it back over to Mesa, or excuse me, to Nody, who will just talk further about, the advantage of playing for Mesa.
So we've had some great conversations with some of the coaches. So I think if you saw some of the slides earlier, you saw some college age kids and older kids in a picture. Those are kids that all came through the Mesa program of Philly. Not all of them, I should say, but a core of those guys. Most of them played for Mesa, went on to play Division I, and then they play for us up in Lake Placid every year. There was a little group holding a trophy up. And that team is actually now, that's our 2023 team. So that picture was taken when they were probably in like 3rd grade. And again, most of those kids and families stay with Mesa. What I think differentiates Mesa from some clubs is if you make the team and you're committed to the team, we try to the best of our ability to keep teams together over the course of a period of time, at least going up through, their middle school years. When they go into high school, that team should be kind of selected and definitely remains just consistent through high school. But we try to keep these guys and families together. There's enough stress and anxiety and club jumping and things like that. But we think we do a good job keeping our families together. We also know the landscape down in Annapolis pretty well. Again, Trav went to Arundel and coaches at Severna Park, and there's not a lot of club options for kids. So we're excited to be down there with our philosophy and teaching and developing the kids at a young age, and teaching them again how to play the game the right way, not necessarily teaching them, plays and things of that sort. The other piece too, especially for those 24s and 25s, believe it or not, you have to start thinking about, some of you are probably thinking about where you're going to go to high school, not the 24s, but the 25s. But certainly as you move on through and matriculate on through, there's a college placement piece that we're very involved with, through Haverford School and Mesa. We've placed, hundreds of kids in different schools. So the exposure that they get, and again, that shouldn't be the only reason that you're playing club. It should be fun. It should be playing with your buddies. But that piece of getting the kids into the best tournaments and showcases throughout their high school, and also the connections that we have through the club and through our high school background with so many college coaches. If you look in the PLL right now, there's, some of the best players are Haverford School guys. Grant Ament, Chris Savey's a defender. There's other Mesa guys in that, Joey McCallion's also in there. So there's just a ton of connections. So it will help as the boys matriculate through. Again, that's not the end all be all, but we will certainly help in that regard. And we enjoy that piece of the club part. So we look forward to that. I talked about the kids, keeping the kids together. The most important piece to us is the coaching and getting great mentors and people who know the game, but also who just enjoy being around boys and who are passionate about what they do, who are going to be there 15 minutes early, stay 15 minutes late, look for other things for the team and the boys to do on the field and off the field. We have, again, as the boys get older, we have like mentor. It's not official, but we have guys that go work and do internships with people in our community, parents of former Mesa players and so it's a very boutique small club, and even building it down or growing it down in Annapolis, it's still going to be small. So we feel like, we can do a really good job. We don't want to grow it too big. We want to be, we're lastly, what I would say is we're available. Right now we're winding down our season. And as you can imagine, there's just a lot, there's been a lot of moving parts with tournaments moving, teams pulling in and out of things, which impacts coaches, players, families, vacations. And we feel like we've done a really, really good job, but we also have, there's areas where we can get better, right? Sometimes we have to combine teams because we can't get enough commitment from two teams. So we'll combine a team, which, the alternative to that would be to withdraw from a tournament. The challenge with that is sometimes you have bigger rosters going into a tournament, so you have to be creative. So we are well aware of kind of the obstacles and the things that are important to parents and the boys, and I think we're great listeners. We continue to evolve, but we are really excited about the opportunity in Annapolis. I think, again, being from upstate New York and being in Philadelphia for a long, long time, the best lacrosse, in the country at the high school level and youth levels in the Mid-Atlantic and certainly in the Baltimore, Annapolis area. So we don't take this challenge lightly at all. We look forward to it. But again, we're talking about a lot of young kids too. So, the most important part of the Mesa brand is doing it the right way, adding professionalism, having the right people around your boys, and being there to listen to you as the customer, and as people who are obviously excited and as committed to lacrosse as we are. So we view it as a partnership, and we look forward to getting that going soon.
All right, thanks, Nody. All right, so I'm going to talk about the head coaches here real quick, and I'm going to focus on the 24s, 25s, and 2030s, just because I think that's the majority of the people that are on here. Okay, all right, so the 2024 age group, we think we have some super solid candidates here. But we are not ready to announce that on this Zoom call. We'll definitely do that after tryouts. Like when we invite kids to join the team after tryouts, we'll have that nailed down. from a candidate standpoint, we think we have maybe a head coach in Anne Arundel County that may do that job. I don't want to say 100% right now. Dave Earl from Serna Park has offered to provide some instruction to that team. He will not necessarily serve as the head coach for sure, but he's not going to be like an assistant coach, but he's going to come to some practice, offer some clinics and that sort of thing. But we'll announce that right when we know. We're just not ready to do that right now. So for the 2025s, okay, the head coach is going to be Ethan Sunderland. So he's been around lacrosse for the majority of his life. You can see there in that first sentence, it says that he's been involved for 40 years. He's currently an assistant coach for Calvert Hall's JV team. And he's also the head coach of that Team Slate team that you see there. He's a huge box lacrosse guy. All right, so we think he'll be a huge asset for the entire Mesa program from a box standpoint, as I was referring to earlier, as a part of our winter curriculum. So we're super excited to have Ethan as the 2025 coach. So for the 2030s, okay, so Matt Agee and Matt Hall, who are currently the coach of that team, we're super excited to keep them on board. They have a super passion for the game, and I've seen them coach this summer, and they work tirelessly with that team. And you know, those two guys have been together maybe for about 3 years coaching those guys. All right, so we're super pumped to keep those guys on board with the 2030s. All right, so here's the tryouts for every single age group. We understand, again, with all this craziness that's going on, that some of those dates are going to conflict, okay? And you're not going to be able to make August 9th or August 16th, okay? What we'll say is, okay, say you're a 2024 and you can't make the August 9th tryout, that's not a big deal. Okay, you can certainly come on August 16th, right, and try out with the 25s. Again, like if you're a 2028 and you can't make August 16th, okay, you're welcome to come in August 9th, right, and try out with the 29s. Again, maybe neither of those dates work for you, okay, which is fine too, but we can certainly, you know, try to have some type of supplemental tryout down the road. All right, and you know, so we can evaluate your son properly. What I'll say is, like from a tryout standpoint, okay, if you go to Mesa Lacrosse, let me just do it real quick here. Sorry, give me 1 sec. And if you go to our homepage, mesalacrosse.com, you'll see the button right here, all right, which will take you to the tryout page. Okay, and again, it lists the actual dates and times for each particular age group, all right, and it allows you to register. Okay. So if you cannot make a particular date, like I was just speaking of, okay, I still go ahead and register, all right, and then just shoot me an email and let me know, all right, that, hey, I can't make it on this date. Is it all right if my son tries out on this date? Or I can't make either date. Is there a time down the road that we can, you know, try to get my son evaluated? All right. So you can just click right here, all right, and you can just email me and you'll be all set. Okay. And on this page, right, there's also some other things that, you know, we're covering tonight, all right, but this is just like the text form. You know, who is Mesa? What's our philosophy? You know, some other questions that you might have. And at the bottom here is where the head coaches are that I was just referring to. All right, so this is what the cost is per each particular team. Okay. Again, you can see at the bottom what the prices are for each age group. And it varies a little bit, all right? And that it varies because of the curriculum that we offer. You know, some teams play in less tournaments and that type of thing. and also the cost associated with registering for a tournament. Okay, so like once you get into high school, all right, the cost of tournaments increases dramatically. So those fees that you see at the bottom, that's it. That's the flat fee. There's no additional fees, okay, at all. Okay? And also, you get our curriculum, but you also receive, we're a Nike organization, all right? So you receive a Nike jersey, a pair of shorts, okay, and a shooting shirt. And again, if you go back to that tryout page, okay, all the way at the bottom, okay, they're also listed there. All right, so with that, we'll open it up to questions. You can just unmute yourself and ask your question, and we'll do our best to answer what you can. All right, does anyone have any questions out there?
Yes, my name is Joseph Whitaker. So one thing, are you going to offer like a payment plan to pay the fees down, or is that something you handle on case-by-case basis, or?
Yeah, we do installments for every single family. Usually we do 3 installments. One would be due in September timeframe. One would be due in the beginning of February, January timeframe. And then the final one would be due in like April, May timeframe. Anyone else have any questions out there that we can help you with?
Hey, Travis, Rodney Hill. I was wondering, what is the maximum number of players you are going to keep on a team?
So what I would say is, I'm gonna speak for 2025 to 2030 age group. Okay, our optimal roster size, okay, is 21 total players. Okay, so 19 of those would be field players, and 2 of them would be goalies. That would be our maximum. That being said, for the 2024 families that are on here, that might go up a little bit, just because you could probably have 7 poles on a high school team, okay? And you could probably have a FOGO on a high school team. You would have a FOGO more often than you would have that on a youth team, all right? But for our youth team, 21 is going to be the maximum.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions out there that we can help you with?
I would just add in 2 things, Trav, if I could. We hope to be Nike. We don't know where we are after COVID, but whatever the case is, we like, for 3 old guys, we like to look good. So our unis will be buttoned up, you know, and hopefully Nike will be able to provide what they've provided us over the course of the last 10 years or so. And in regards to roster sizes too, the challenge also becomes, we like to keep rosters certainly at a number that makes sense for your dollar, right? The challenge becomes, you know, if you get 13 kids coming to a practice instead of 19 kids, it's really hard. The other challenge is if we find that we get great families or great kids and they have a bunch of buddies on the team, you know, we'd like to think if we had, you know, 8 middies or 9 middies as opposed to 8 middies or 7 middies, that we would have a coaching staff that would be able to utilize and get kids in and be effective with playing time. Kids get hurt, kids go away. But we don't like big roster sizes, but we do like to have productive practices. So that's a piece that goes into it.
Any other questions out there we can help you with?
Hey, this is Tim Berger. We actually have a couple of sons who'll be trying out for 2030 and 2028 as well. I know that 2028 was operating some. Is there is the capacity already close to met at that level? You know, are tryouts open at that level as well?
They are. So right now, that roster, I'm trying to check my phone here just to make sure that I'm quoting you correctly, has let me say about here. Okay. There's about 16 kids, all right, that played on that 2028 team this summer, okay, with one of those being a goalie. Right, so there's 15 field players. There are there is room to grow that roster, right? And I'm also assuming that all 15 of those kids are planning on coming back, okay, which I don't have a good handle on right now. Okay, but yeah, there's definitely room on that roster.
Great, thank you. We're new to the area, so we're excited.
Okay, thank you. But I'm just looking at the chat that someone asked, where will the practices be held? So we plan on having them at Severna Park High School / Kinder / other park and rec things in the area. That's our plan right now. I don't know if any of you heard, but all fall and winter sports in Anne Arundel County have been moved to the spring. Right, so we'll see how that goes, right? In the spring, we'll definitely find a spot, okay, but I can't guarantee it's going to be where I just said. Any other questions out there?
Travis, Rodney Hill again. You say that Mesa will be joining or will be part of the HOCO spring league, I guess. They'll be playing in there.
Yes, that's correct. Yep,
Okay.
We'll definitely be in that league.
And then where do you see that if this is, granted, things go the way they go, but where do you see the tournaments happening through the summer? Like, where are they? East Coast? Are they? I mean, are there, like, what's the travel look like for those tournaments? Like, where are they?
Okay, yeah. So luckily, we're in the area where you don't have to travel. I'm always amazed when like Seattle, playing a team from Seattle or Colorado. So many of the teams are going to be many of the tournaments could be in Maryland. Okay, there may be some in Philadelphia. There's some good. Again, I'm talking about a high school here. There's some good recruiting tournaments in Philadelphia, and again, you could also maybe go to Long Island. Our teams up in Philadelphia, they may go to Long Island one time per year. That's the maximum to go to Long Island. Okay, but they're very Maryland, Philadelphia, maybe Long Island once.
And the young kids will never go to Long Island. Like we're not taking like 2030s. You know, we take into consideration. We think it's fun, like sometimes to do, right? If there's a Saturday, Sunday tournament and it's a nice area and there's a hotel, but we also are mindful of people's budgets and expenses and things like that. So once we get the pulse of our teams, the ability of their teams, and the excitement of the families, you know, and the age, you know, we'll cater to that group. And we'll all, you know, the nice thing with Mesa is we'll be able to, as best as we can, you know, find tournaments that are appropriate for our boys' abilities so they can compete. Frankly, Mesa's involved in the NLF, which is, you know, the ACC of club lacrosse. Yeah. And some of our teams they're not ready for prime time, so we're not taking them into and we want them to compete, and we don't mind them getting beaten up a little bit bloody, but we won't do it at the expense. We're not going to, again, sometimes that's out of our control, but we kind of pride ourselves on knowing the ability of our teams and placing them appropriately.
Yeah, and if I don't have to use my Easy Pass to go over the GW Bridge or the Tappan Sea, it's a good day.
All right, great. Thank you.
Anyone else we can help you with? Any questions you have?
Hi, my name is Jess Gorski. We have a 2025. I was wondering, you mentioned the roster size. We have older children who play lacrosse. Do you have multiple teams per graduating year, or do you keep one team per graduating year?
So we've done both up here, and I'll let Trav and or Mark jump in. It's hard to do, like we call them orange and blue, because kids always find a club where they can say that they're on the A team, right? And I understand that as a dad of 3 kids, and but I think we would do that if we could staff it, and if we felt like we had, good families and boys that would, we want to coach kids. We don't, while this is an elite travel club, the 3 of us are coaches. We're developmental coaches, so we would, I would prefer not to cut anybody, but that's just not the real world. We got to compete. But if there were numbers that allowed us to have 2 teams in a particular age group, we would definitely we would entertain that if we felt like we could give them the close to the same experience. But we found that it's hard, because sometimes if you're on a B team, so to speak, right? If you're a top level kid on that B team, that experience is never going to be, we're never going to meet those expectations, because the gap is wider on a B team than it is on an A team. So that, just being completely honest, it's just hard. But we would do that if we could. We talked to the 2030 guys. We would do an academy if we could find, again, the right coaches. If kids weren't ready for travel, and we could put them in an academy and just work on their skills and drills, and then go ahead and advance them as they got better, that we would love to do something like that. And again, would entertain it. If a lot of it just depends on what the numbers would dictate that.
And Jess, as an alternative down here as well, is if a kid doesn't make this Mesa team and the numbers are appropriate, they're going to be offered an opportunity to play for a Green Hornets team. Okay, so each age group, if the numbers accommodate it, there'll be a Green Hornets team that will also happen. Jess, is your husband a goalie? Is he like the guy I grew up with that went to Northeast?
That's you.
No.
No.
All right.
No, it's a popular name around here is what we found, but we're not related to any of anybody who.
Okay. All right. Thanks. Thought I'd ask.
No, we get asked a lot. So. No, I was just wondering, for the same reasons that you just said, for the A and B teams and the dynamics of those, and when you mentioned the roster numbers, what we were looking at when we had a tryout.
Okay.
If they were trying out for 1 or 2 teams.
Yeah. Yep. Did that help answer your question?
Yes.
Yep, it answered our question. Thank you.
Okay.
And this is Nick Cravella. Thanks, Travis, for your time. Thank you, John, for your time. Just to further on that, my son's a 2024. Just trying to figure out, are we walking into open tryouts here? Are we trying to keep the team closer to consistent for how it's been the last couple of years? I just didn't know what the expectation was as to the tryouts, and in light of that, and if you could expand on the Green Hornets option as a fallback option, what that could look like.
Okay. So what I'll say is, for the 2024s, it's going to be a little different, right? Because the Green Hornets does not offer high school, right? So the answer that we just provided to Jess that will be for 2025 and younger. So the 2024s are, again, if the numbers accommodate it, we're happy to have 2 teams from a Mesa perspective. But just to be, I would only think that the numbers are going to suggest that we only have 1 team. Okay? That's just my prediction. And this is going to be for the 2024s. This is going to be an open tryout. Because as John alluded to earlier, once we select a high school team, okay, those kids will remain on the team, all right, until they finish high school. All right, so it will be an open tryout for the 2024s.
Understood. Thanks for the answer. Appreciate it.
Okay. Anyone else out there? All right, last call here. All right, well, thanks for everyone's time. We will send out a wrap-up email about this call. We'll also provide a link to the recording of it if you want to forward it to any of your friends who may not necessarily have been able to make the call. And once you get that email, if you have any additional questions that you think of that you weren't able to ask tonight, you're welcome to reply to that email, and we'll help you out the best we can. All right, so thanks everyone, and have a good night.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night. Thank you.